At 2,330 hours, the C-17 Globemaster III reached the designated drop coordinates over the Dashti Kavir Desert. Cruising at an altitude of 30,000 feet, the aircraft's rear ramp lowered, exposing the strike force to external temperatures of -45 degrees Celsius. Upon the Jumpmaster's visual signal, all 48 Tier 1 operators initiated a high-altitude low opening or HALO insertion. Carrying 45 kilograms of gear and breathing from portable oxygen consoles, the assault element entered freefall. The operators descended at terminal velocities, exceeding 220 kilometers per hour through complete darkness, maintaining tight aerial formations, using infrared strobes entirely invisible to the naked eye. At exactly 4,000 feet above ground level, stealth profile ram air canopies were deployed. The strike force glided silently through the frigid night air, touching down at 2,348 hours, exactly 3.2 kilometers northwest of the subterranean complex. The landing was executed with 0 casualties and 0 equipment malfunctions. Within 180 seconds, all parachutes and high-altitude life support gear were meticulously buried beneath the desert sand to eliminate any visual signature. The 48 operators transitioned into a staggered column tactical formation, initiating a grueling foot march across the shifting dunes. The ambient surface temperature had plummeted to 4 degrees Celsius. Vision was entirely augmented by 4-tube GPNVG, 1/8 panoramic night vision goggles, painting the pitch-black desert in a high-contrast white phosphor glow. Moving at a deliberate, silent pace to minimize dust displacement, the strike force utilized handheld thermal imagers to scan the horizon for hostile patrols. By 0015 hours, the assault element reached the 500-meter phase line. The target location presented no visible structures, perfectly camouflaged beneath the desert floor, with the exception of 3 reinforced concrete ventilation shafts and an electronically sealed, sand-covered hydraulic blast door. At 0018 hours, orbiting electronic warfare assets initiated a localized, high-intensity electromagnetic jamming sequence. The operation severed all hardline communications, satellite uplinks, and local radio frequencies radiating from the bunker, effectively blinding and deafening the subterranean facility from the outside world. At 0022 hours, the perimeter takedown commenced. Reconnaissance elements identified 4 sentries patrolling the ventilation grates. Each hostile was armed with a PKM heavy machine gun and equipped with a pressure-detonated suicide vest. The engagement distance was precisely 145 meters. 4 designated marksmen from Alpha Team assumed prone firing positions, utilizing suppressed SR-25 precision rifles chambered in 7.62x51 mm NATO. Crosshairs were aligned exclusively on the target's medulla oblongata to guarantee instantaneous flaccid paralysis, eliminating any possibility of a reflexive trigger pull. At 0024 hours, following a synchronized countdown, 4 suppressed rounds were discharged simultaneously. Bullet flight time was approximately 0.18 seconds. All 4 hostiles were neutralized instantly with catastrophic central nervous system trauma, collapsing silently onto the sand. Bravo team immediately advanced to secure the sentries' bodies, meticulously disarming the explosive vests. Meanwhile, Charlie and Delta teams converged on the primary hydraulic blast door, positioning customized linear-shaped breaching charges. The infiltration phase was flawlessly executed. The strike force was now fully stacked and prepared to breach the subterranean threshold. At 0027 hours, the assault element initiated the breach. Customized linear-shaped charges, generating a directional plasma jet exceeding 8,000 degrees Celsius, instantly sliced through the 150-millimeter reinforced steel hydraulic blast door. The catastrophic overpressure wave was followed immediately by the deployment of 9 Bang flash crash diversionary devices into the primary subterranean antechamber. Before the 180 decibel detonations had fully subsided, Alpha and Bravo teams flooded the fatal funnel. The subterranean complex was plunged into absolute darkness as the breaching sequence deliberately severed the conduit to the localized power grid. Operating under the white phosphor glow of GPNVG, 1-8 panoramic night vision goggles, the Tier 1 operators possessed an overwhelming sensory and tactical advantage. Active infrared laser designators, entirely invisible to the unequipped hostile force, painted the subterranean corridors. The first point of contact occurred at 0029 hours in the Level 1 barracks. Exactly 45 heavily armed insurgents, jolted by the breach, attempted to mount a disorganized defense, wielding AK-103 assault rifles. The hostiles fired blindly into the dark concrete corridors. The operators executed textbook close-quarters battle protocols. Moving with fluid, lethal precision, they utilized suppressed HK-416 rifles, delivering controlled pairs of 5.6 mm subsonic ammunition, exclusively to the target's central nervous systems. Within 90 seconds, 41 hostiles were neutralized. 2 U.S. operators sustained minor superficial lacerations from 7.62 mm ricochets off the concrete bulkheads. Both were designated as wounded in action, but maintained 100% combat effectiveness and refused medical evacuation. At 0034 hours, the assault force descended a 25-meter concrete stairwell to Sublevel 2, the designated primary training sector. Here, Charlie and Delta teams encountered hardened resistance from 55 entrenched fighters. The hostiles, realizing the futility of conventional engagement against a technologically superior, invisible adversary, resorted to their primary indoctrination protocol. At 0037 hours, 18 insurgents simultaneously charged down a 40-meter central corridor, attempting to manually detonate fragmentation vests, each containing 12 kilograms of high explosives packed with steel ball bearings. The Tier 1 response was instantaneous and surgical. The engagement parameters dictated absolute neutralization to prevent catastrophic secondary detonations within the enclosed space. 36 suppressed rounds were discharged. 18 hostiles sustained catastrophic trauma directly to the medulla oblongata, inducing immediate flaccid paralysis and instantly severing the brain's connection to the motor cortex. The hostiles collapsed sequentially onto the concrete floor without a single dead man switch or explosive vest being triggered. The remaining 37 insurgents in the sector were systematically dismantled in a methodical room-to-room clearing operation lasting exactly 14 minutes. The hostiles exhibited severe combat stress and panic, completely incapable of tracking or countering the speed of the assault. At 0053 hours, the combined strike force reached the reinforced security perimeter of Sublevel 3. Utilizing thermal imaging, the lead element confirmed the presence of a massive biological cluster behind a secondary iron gate. After neutralizing 3 final guards with suppressed fire, the operators breached the holding area. Inside a 900 square meter concrete enclosure, devoid of basic sanitation or lighting, the assault force secured the primary objective, exactly 500 abducted children. The combat phase was officially concluded at 0058 hours. The tactical perimeter was secured, and the operators transitioned to immediate triage and extraction protocols. At 0102 hours, the assault force established a 360-degree internal security perimeter around Sublevel 3. The 48 Tier 1 operators immediately transitioned from kinetic engagement to mass casualty evacuation protocols. Specialized explosive ordnance disposal technicians commenced a systematic sweep of the 500 children, utilizing handheld chemical sniffers and portable fluoroscopes to ensure no secondary improvised explosive devices or passive trigger mechanisms had been embedded within their clothing. By 0118 hours, the entire hostage population was declared clear of explosive hazards. 5 high-value hostile instructors found hiding among the captives were immediately subdued with zip ties, blindfolded, and prepared for tactical extraction. Simultaneously, Alpha and Bravo teams executed the sabotage phase of Operation Desert Cradle. Operators transported exactly 45 kilograms of Composition C, 4 plastic explosives into the subterranean complex's primary munition storage bunker and the centralized diesel generator room. The explosive charges were wired with redundant, dual-command detonators set for a remote radio frequency trigger. At 0125 hours, The arduous process of moving 500 malnourished and traumatized children up 35 meters of concrete stairwells commenced. The operators utilized infrared chemical lights to mark a safe egress corridor, physically carrying the weakest hostages to the surface. The ambient desert temperature remained at a freezing 4 degrees Celsius. Upon breaching the surface at 0142 hours, the strike force commander transmitted the extraction code word via encrypted satellite uplink. Exactly 14 minutes later, at 0156 hours, the heavy rotor wash of the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment shattered the desert silence. 4 MH-47G Chinook heavy-lift helicopters, flying blackout under zero illumination, flared their approach and touched down simultaneously on the designated landing zone 500 meters from the blast door. 2 AH-64 Apache attack helicopters maintained a continuous high-altitude orbit, providing overwatch with 3 0mm chain guns and AGM-114 Hellfire missiles. The boarding sequence was executed with ruthless efficiency. By 0207 hours, all 500 rescued children, the 5 captured insurgents, and the 48 Tier 1 operators were secured aboard the 4 Chinooks. As the heavy transport helicopters lifted off and banked sharply toward friendly airspace, the assault commander initiated the detonation sequence from the lead aircraft. At 0209 hours, the 45 kilograms of C4 within the subterranean bunker were detonated. The primary blast instantly ignited the insurgents' stockpile of high-yield explosives and suicide vests, triggering a massive secondary thermobaric shockwave. The surface of the Dasht-e-Kavir desert violently ruptured, collapsing the 12,000-square-meter underground facility into a smoldering crater. Operation Desert Cradle concluded with 115 hostiles killed in action, 5 captured, 0 American fatalities, and 2 minor casualties. All 500 primary objectives were successfully extracted, completely neutralizing a catastrophic global threat.